So I handed out two things, because I'm not going to talk forever, because I believe you could talk too long. But I handed out this piece on the back, which is kind of a circular thing just to show different aspects of the economy, because sometimes we forget how many aspects there are. I'm in ways in which solidarity works. And on the other side, the connection between justice movements and economics. And this is an article called Other Economies Are Possible. There's going to be a new one coming up, but it's important because it tries to lay a framework for what I'm going to talk about, and also other things happening in the U.S. And so the Federation of Southern Cooperatives has been here, which people know, and there's also a whole part back here on African American economic solidarity, which traces things from the 1860s until now, to have some historical framework. So the thing that I want to talk about a little bit is, so maybe about 5 years ago, at the United States Social Forum, has anyone ever heard of the U.S. Social Forum?
Yes.
Yes, can someone say what it is, please? Organized chaos, all right.
Can I speak to that? What is the U.S. Social Forum?
What is the U.S. Social Forum?
Yes.
The U.S. Social Forum is part of the World Social Forum process. It started in really as an outgrowth of the kind of anti-globalization movements of the late 1990s, early part of 2000s. The first one was in Porto Alegre, Brazil in 2002. Porto Alegre, Brazil had a very progressive government that was involved in participatory democracy projects, particularly participatory budgeting. The United States brought that process home in 2007. The first one was Atlanta. The second was in Detroit in 2010. And the point of it is to bring all the different social movements, progressive social movements together so that they can converge to be able to dialogue, share with each other, and grow.
Thank you. And so alongside the World Social Forum process, there was also a process around economic solidarity. So in Latin America, it was solidarity económica. It was other things in other countries. The U.S. was the only place that did not actually have a solidarity economy network, globally. And so at the same time that the U.S. Social Forum was happening, a solidarity economy network also got built up. And it was a way to say, how do we collectively bring together little cooperatives, there's community gardens, there's all these different things, and what's their framework? What does participatory budgeting have to do with land ownership and land control? And how are ways that we can connect these things together? So like Mondragon, what is the connection between Mondragon that's happening in Spain and the projects that are happening here? And so out of that became the solidarity economy framework in the U.S. Because so often, cooperatives there's one here, there's one here, there's one here, but they're not all linked. And they're not linked in a way that creates economic sustainability. And so what people are trying to do is to say, how do we actually build up something big? How do we create an alternative economy process so that it's not just bound by capitalism, that's not just bound by I start my own personal business, you might get a job, or we're going to depend upon some random group to come fly down and start something in the South. We like that all the time. There's a whole lot of people looking for the next big plant, which isn't going to happen. Most of us in this room know that, but a lot of people we work with don't. And so it's like, how do we actually get the skills necessary to create different ways of being? And so we're working around how in the South does that make sense? And so Edgefield, and I and other people with Project South, which is out of Atlanta.
This is an odd setup.
Oh,
You stand up.
oh yeah, thank you. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You stay where
So
you are. You can stay where you are.
Right here.
You stand so your voice can project.
Wow, it wasn't projecting. That's the first time. I'm telling my mom. Okay. So you talk to them. And so we created something called the Southern Grassroots Economies Project, which is a way to say what they're doing in other countries and what's happening in the U.S. How do we make that look in the South? How can we actually make that happen? I ended up going to the first African forum around the social and solidarity economy in South Africa 2 years ago. There are people there from every African nation. It was one of the first times that I actually seen a black person represent the U.S. in anything. Barack Obama had just been elected, talking about from Ethiopia and the coffee, all the free trade coffee folks, to Tanzania, to Kenya. How do we actually, in the African diaspora, because there are people there from Haiti, from Brazil, from Colombia, how do we actually make this a reality across the board? And what does that mean for the U.S. to be a part of that? And in those countries, they were really going from, how do we use cooperatives to create schools? How do we use cooperatives to make money so that we can have our own drinking water, so we can have all the things that we need? And so what we're trying to do is use some of those lessons and to also learn the lessons from back in the day to use now, right? Because out of this civil rights movement and out of liberation movements grew a lot of cooperatives in this country. So from Ella Baker to Fannie Lou Hamer, that's how so many things got started. And so how can we move